Hello and welcome aboard another episode of the Gallant Says podcast, live on YouTube at Paul Gallant, on Twitch at Gallant Says, Facebook.com/Paul Gallant Sports, on X at Gallant Says, and on Instagram at Sports Gallant. It is Saturday, January 11th, 2025, and the Houston Texans did what they do best. Saturday at 3:30, the first game of Wild Card Weekend, they won again at NRG Stadium, 32-12 to advance to the divisional round of the playoffs. They are now 6-2 when they play in that slate. A lot of stuff to dive into in this game. I think more than anything, though, we can all agree the Texans have been capable of this for a very long time. And it's better late than never that we finally saw them put together a rather complete game that they actually finished against a team that we consider to be good. Let's get this thing started.
A radio show host in Seattle called Paul Gallant.
Paul Gallant's wondering the same things a lot of people wonder.
You are definitely living in the hindsight world today, Paul.
Do you feel there's been a consistent theme with the interceptions?
I think every interception really has a different story.
I was just kind of curious what Paul gets to say.
Grow up, mother. You kidding me?
Paul Gallant, what the hell is wrong with you?
I have a celebratory scotch right now. I actually enjoy when I'm wrong. The vibes for the Houston Texans have been just god-awful. Christmas really made it rock bottom, especially for me, but this has been a frustrating season given the expectations going into the year. Whether those are outside expectations or internal expectations, we have been waiting all season long for the Texans to put together something that's at least close to a 60-minute ass kicking. And for the most part, today, after a slow start, that's exactly what the Texans did. Took a little bit of time to get going. First quarter got a little bit dicey, but this team is going to win based off of what its defense does. And today's defensive effort by the Texans is something we've actually seen a couple of times this year. This team has done a very good job of frustrating the best quarterbacks in the game outside of Lamar Jackson. We saw them fluster Josh Allen, holding him to one of those games where you look at the stat sheet and you're like, wait a second, this guy's theoretically the MVP of the NFL this coming season, this current season. They frustrated Tua. They gave Jordan Love some issues. Not as many issues as we would have liked. They picked off Jared Goff 5 times. When this defense is at its best, when the front seven is fully healthy, when they are getting after the passer, and when they are making things happen in the secondary, they are scary. Will Anderson, Daniil Hunter, Foley Fatukasi, Mario Edwards, Danico Autry, all of those guys made key plays today. Azeez Al-Shaair is back. And they played so well that you forget that they're missing one of their best players that you'd also consider to be a part of their front seven. And Jalen Petrie, who's out for the year. And then you take a look at the second level of the defense, where you've got Derek Stingley, all-pro corner, 2 interceptions in this game. You've got Kamari Lassiter, a rookie, getting an interception. You've got Kalen Bullock flying around, though. I think he might want to have that one back where he, I think, misjudged where that ball that eventually went to Ladd McConkey for that 86-yard touchdown. The lone gaffe of the Texans defensively all game long, but this is a really good defense. And if they actually get to the AFC Championship for the first time ever, it's going to be because of that defense. I like some of the things I saw from the offense, but this is a defense-first team. And, you know, I've given D'Amico Ryans some grief this year because I feel like a lot of the little things collectively as a team, the Texans have had a really difficult time cleaning up. And you saw some of those issues pop up again, but this defense is so bought in under him They fly to the football. They stick people. They hit people hard. And I'm looking at the defensive stat sheet. Everyone contributed in some way, shape, or form. I know Danielle Hunter had no sacks, but Danielle Hunter was creating havoc. Will Anderson Jr., he had that free shot on Justin Herbert, but at the very beginning of the game, he looked like one of the best defensive players in the league. They got after Justin Herbert. They rattled Justin Herbert, the internet darling. Everyone loves Justin Herbert. And he's had a great year, but in a season where this guy had the second best number in NFL history when it comes to interceptions. This is a guy who threw 3 interceptions all season long. They picked him off 4 times today. 4 times. And I like Justin Herbert. I actually think he's a good quarterback. I do think that the dorks online, the online football community, they blow him a little bit too much. He's good. He's tough. But, I mean, he shit his pants as much in the playoffs as Lamar Jackson has, if we're being perfectly honest here. And the Texans gave that guy hell. Like, this defense has a lot to be proud of today. In the locker room after the game, I was walking in to talk to a couple of players. I spoke with Will Anderson. I spoke with Azeez Al-Shaair, and it was really funny to see on my way in, Foley Fatukasi. He's just smoking a stogie. And it smelled like cigars in the locker room. It's a wild card win. Should you be that excited about a wild card win? Maybe not. But honestly, with where this team was on Christmas Day and how bad they looked on Christmas Day, I'm cool with it. I mean, this is the first time that they've played a complete game since Christmas Day. And they went out there and they just beat the shit out of the Chargers. Justin Herbert's numbers on the game. 14 of 32 for 242 yards, but 86 came on that one touchdown. So we're talking a sub-200 game outside of one play, 4 interceptions, 4 sacks, and the Chargers, who the first drive of the game looked like they might be able to run the football, averaged 2.8 yards a carry total on the game. Really, it was just Ladd McConkey. Ladd McConkey did some awesome things out there. He had almost 200 yards receiving. A lot of it came on that 186-yard reception, but hey, he still had 100-plus on the game. But the Texans shut everyone down defensively. And I'm not going to get too crazy and think to myself that the Texans are capable of being this dominant against Patrick Mahomes or Lamar Jackson, since the Ravens won tonight, or probably Josh Allen, since I do think the Bills are going to beat the Broncos tomorrow. But, I mean, this level defensively is so damn impressive. And we've seen them do it a couple of times, so it's not impossible. To expect it, you might be asking a little bit too much, but is this actually possible? You saw what they did to Jared Goff. You saw what they did to Josh Allen. And I thought they held their own against the Chiefs for a time, but in the fourth quarter, that's when things sort of started to fall apart. Once Tank Dell got injured, they missed the extra point. They lost their mojo, and they definitely didn't have it on Christmas Day, but I think they might have gotten it back. I'm going to read a couple of comments here. You can join on Instagram at Sports Gallant. You can also join on Facebook, facebook.com/Paul Gallant Sports, on X at Gallant Says, on YouTube at Paul Gallant, on Twitch, twitch.tv/Gallant Says. Frontrunner says dead man walking. I thought the Texans were dead men walking on Monday, Tuesday, and I don't think I was alone in that way. That doesn't make me right, but I am not going to have blind belief in a team that has underachieved as much as they have this year. To their credit, though, they finally woke the fuck up at the best possible time. Cheers to that. I don't know what this scotch is called. My sister got it for me for Christmas. But it's peaty. I love it when it's peaty. I think it's called Laddie. Scotch is good stuff. More comments here. Frontrunner, stop holding your nuts on the Texans. Okay, listen, man. When they're good, they're good. I will credit them when they're good. I'm not one of these people, though, that's going to be just a blindly loyal sucker and act like, oh, yeah, I knew they were going to do this. No, I thought they were going to lose. I thought they were going to lose 24-20 today. That was the prediction I had going into the game. Kay Hogan asks, are you smoking on a Paul pack? Yeah, Joe Mixon, if you didn't see it, and we'll play this audio on the radio show when we get together, Joe George and I, on Monday at noon. Joe Mixon was caught on video on a live stream, and he's smoking a cigar, and he said that he was smoking that Rex Ryan pack. I guess you could say you're smoking on a Paul pack too, because Paul Gallant, I didn't respect the Texans going into this game. But this isn't a matter of the Chargers not showing up. I really think the Texans just defensively snuffed them out. Like after the first quarter, the couple of drives down the field, the Chargers get into field goal range. The Texans bend but don't break. Even though the Texans offense was not helping them out at all early, they held their own. And then when the Texans offense finally arrived, that was it. Did it arrive to the degree that we wanted? We'll get to that. More comments here. H is up. H is up indeed, Daniel Pena. Sneakers Most Wanted says, Xmas Day sucked, and the Titans did nothing for me that game. I barely watched it. But this made me proud. It should. This was a very good win. You should be very happy about this. And I know that we kind of get greedy in this town. Maybe it's because of the Astros, but there's a lot of people that get, I think, meh about the Texans winning in this spot because they've won it so many times. They're 6-2 in that 3:30 window on NRG Stadium after winning the AFC South. Like, they usually win this game. 3-point dogs at home. No respect was given to them by Vegas. No respect was given to them by Rex Ryan, obviously. No respect was given to them by me. They hadn't earned it, but they earned it this week. And now it's a matter of how do you capture this and keep it going, specifically defensively. Because if they win, they got to have a defensive kind of effort like this. It can't be like it was against the Ravens, where the Ravens ran all over them. But this could be one of those things where, say the Bills do what's expected and they play the Chiefs. Okay, like, can you win a defensive slugfest against Kansas City? Because that's what it's probably going to be. The Chiefs' offense is not what it's been in years past. Your offense clearly isn't what we all wanted it to be this year. But can you defensively do what you did? Maybe not to this degree, because that was so dominant. It's almost unfair to ask them to do that again. I mean, the Texans have turned the ball over 3 times to the Chargers 1 early on, and still. It was a close game that the Texans largely were controlling. Let's talk about CJ Stroud. And we'll get to some more of your comments. I'm glad everybody's joining us on this night. Hope you're all having fun. Cheers. I'm going to take another swig of this. It's pretty good. Pretty good. Pretty good. It took Stroud a very long time to get going in this game. And I was a little bit concerned about that because that interception that he threw early on the Texans' 4th drive of the game after the Texans fumbled their first offensive play, they go 3 and out, 5 and out, and then on 3rd down, I don't know what Stroud saw thrown to John Mechie, but it was not even close to John Mechie. Like, I don't even know if we can truly say he was throwing to John Mechie there. It gets intercepted. There's a couple other moments where you're like, whoa. He's trying to throw the football away. You see a Chargers defender seemingly come down with it. He has that end zone throw that he made, and that also that also was a little bit sus. A couple of throwaways he had too. Not so good. That Derwin James interception, I think he had an interception. I can't believe they overturned it. I'm watching it in this small TV up at the NRG Stadium press box, but I remember thinking to myself, like, wait, they really overturned that? I figured what they were going to rule was he was down by contact after that huge return that he had out of the end zone. But let's get to what Stroud did well. After the Texans get the ball right back on an interception, they go 4 and out, but they hold the Chargers again, and they force a punt with about 6 minutes left in the second quarter. And the punt goes all the way to the Texans 1. And with the way the Texans offense has played this season, but especially since Christmas, you were probably thinking to yourself, shit, are they going to end up with a safety? I know I was thinking that. First play, Joe Mixon gets them out of the shadow of their own goalpost. Thank God. Then you've got, and I think on the very next play, where Stroud almost gets sacked, rolls out of the pocket, throws it away, does get enough downfield, but then all of a sudden it's 3rd and 3. And you know that they have to get that first down. You know that they have to get it somehow, some way. They get it. So they're out of the shadow of their own goalpost. And you're thinking to yourself, okay, good. They avoided the safety. But this drive's drama, it was not done. So the very next first down that they get it. Joe Mixon gets the ball for 3. Stroud throws it to John Mechie for another first down. They're at their own 23. But this is where shit started to hit the fan. Stroud throws it to Robert Woods. Incomplete pass. Then Stroud throws a pass to Xavier Hutchinson. Okay, it looks like it's going to be 3rd and 6, but Titus Howard's called for tripping. So it's an 11-yard penalty, and they're back at their own 12. Stroud's able to throw it to Cade Stover for 5 yards, but it's still 3rd and 16 at their own 17. And, with the way things were going offensively, you're thinking to yourself, okay, there's probably going to end up being a punt. So then the 3rd and 16 play begins, and the ball bounces off of Stroud's hands, and you're panicking if you're watching that, unless you're a psychopath. But we've seen Stroud do shit that's impressive before. He picks the ball up, he rolls to his right, he hangs in there, steps up a little bit, and then he lasers it to Xavier Hutchinson, who gets to midfield for a 34-yard gain. That play right there, my hope is that CJ Stroud got his mojo, his confidence back in that moment right there. He remembered, I'm fucking awesome. I can do shit like this. Very few quarterbacks can improvise like that. He showed real balls there. There's a lot of quarterbacks in this league who are going to jump on that ball and fall. Those are the worst quarterbacks in the league. There's others who are going to pick it up and throw it away because they just don't want something bad to happen. Stroud thought to himself, I'm going to make a play here. Picks it up, throws it to Hutchinson. And then a couple of plays later, you see the Texans continue to move the football down the field, where Stroud throws it to Nico Collins for 37. They finally get in the red zone, and ultimately 3rd and 11 at the 13 after losing a yard and an incomplete pass in the red zone. You're thinking to yourself, of course this team's going to shoot itself in the foot. He finds Nico Collins over the middle for a touchdown. It's 7-6, and they never look back. The defense forces a 3-and-out, and on the very next drive, you see more of the same from C.J. Stroud, where with 22 seconds to go in the half, Stroud runs up the middle for 27 yards to the Chargers' 37. They're in Kaimi Fairbairn field goal range. Stroud gets up, and I think that he got a little more confidence in that moment right there. And somehow, some way, they have to make sure, the Texans and C.J. Stroud, that confidence stays. The confidence to stand in there and make plays when shit hits the fan. The confidence to step up and run. He is surprisingly athletic. Joe Mixon was talking about this with Chancellor Johnson leading up to today's game. Chancellor Johnson is a TV reporter at Channel 2, and he's been telling Stroud, like, hey, man, you're athletic. Like, run a little bit. He also compared him to Joe Burrow. But Stroud can take off and do stuff like that, and it feels like he has gone away from doing that entirely. We don't want him to do that all the time, but he can do that. He should do that when he can. And he had a couple of nice scrambles today. You take a look at the statistics for C.J. Stroud. Stroud has 6 runs for 42 yards, including that 27-yard run. He's got quick feet. He can run. He's not going to avoid every sack because that offensive line is not that good. But I think Stroud got his confidence back. And yeah, there were still some moments later in the game that you don't like. Some inaccurate throws. He's had a bunch of weird, inaccurate moments over the course of this year. But I really felt like this game, he got some sort of that confidence that he had all of last year back. And a lot of it starts with just throwing the ball to Nico Collins over and over. I'm sure that with John Mechie Mechie can't fumble the ball the first time he gets a pass thrown his way. He can't get hit over the middle and drop a pass either. But with Mechie, with Hutchinson, with Cade Stover, with Dalton Schultz, and Robert Woods, you can get occasional contributions. But really, this has got to be, going forward, if they want to move the football offensively, it's got to be C.J. Stroud feeding Nico Collins over and over and over again. It's very obvious, but when you got a receiver like that, Nico Collins is such a matchup nightmare. Who can actually cover him? He's so tall, he's so fast, he's so quick, he's so strong. Keep on throwing him the football. Find ways to get him involved. Don't do the cute bullshit that Bobby Slowick did on that play where Joe Mixon fumbled. Don't do that. I don't even want to watch the replay of that play. Just do what's obvious and what's simple. And what obvious and simple is, it's giving the football to Nico Collins over and over and over again. As far as the offensive line, they are what they are. A couple of sacks in this game that were pretty frustrating. Took the Texans a really long time to get going on the ground, but once Joe Mixon got going and smelled blood, I thought Mixon was fantastic down the stretch, helping the Texans finally close out a team. Let's read some more comments here. You can join on YouTube at Paul Gallant, on X at Gallant Says, Facebook.com/Paul Gallant Sports, and I forget what else I said. YouTube at Paul Gallant. Did I say that already? Who knows? Who knows? World of Warcraft, Spartacus says, I want to hear the biggest fucking swarm ever from you and Joe George on Monday. Yeah, we can do that. We can do this too. Drive me smooth, motherfucker. That's Clay Walker. Texans swarm. I have neighbors downstairs. Sorry, I want to be a little bit quiet. It is 11:58 p.m. Central Time. What else do we have here as far as comments on YouTube? Ezekiel Tovar says another W would be the furthest the Texans have ever been. You're right. It's going to be tough, though. It's going to be on the road. K. Hogan says, I think one of the reasons Stroud has struggled is that he's always going for the big play. He abandoned just taking what the defense gives him and moving the chains. He finally did this today. I'm going to give Bobby Slowick a little bit of credit here. I didn't like that play call that he had to Joe Mixon, but I felt like the Texans realized in this game, hey, take what you can get. Just take the short stuff. And you saw a couple of moments when Stroud was really in a rhythm, he was hitting guys like Cade Stover and John Mechie for like 5, 4, 6 yards over the middle. And yeah, I agree. I think that would be a big help. Quarterbacks do this. When I was in Seattle covering Russell Wilson used to have this as a bad habit where all of a sudden he would just want to hit shot plays. He's great at throwing the football down the field, and it's fun to throw the football down the field, but sometimes you just got to take what you can get. Daniel Pena says, I think we're better off playing the Chiefs over the Ravens next. I agree. Look, this is no disrespect to the Chiefs. They're going for a three-peat. But the Ravens are just a bad matchup. And I think the hope is that if it's a Bills-Ravens game in the next round, that the Bills take care of the Ravens. You did pretty well against them. And then you're going to have to get the most warm clothes you possibly can because it's cold up in Buffalo. It's cold up there. What other comments that we have? Eric Valdez says, don't forget, we whooped the Browns in the last year only to get embarrassed in the next round. The D's play is much better at home, but I am hoping for a magical run. For sure. I am not predicting the Texans are going to win next weekend, and I will probably next Friday, like I did this past yesterday, I will probably pick whoever they end up playing against, unless they happen to get another home game, which I don't think is possible. Yeah, it's not possible. Yeah. I think either they might end up going to Baltimore if the Broncos somehow pull off an upset win tomorrow. But yeah, there's no home game next weekend. You needed all sorts of shit to happen today. You needed the Steelers to win. You need the Broncos to win tomorrow, I think, for a chance at that. So that's not happening, alas, earwax. But I totally agree, and I am not getting it twisted. But the big thing is we've been waiting for this. We have been waiting for a semi-complete effort. No team ever plays a perfect game, but we've been waiting for something like this. I get it. The Chargers are not in that top tier of AFC teams. They've did the most that they could this season. And, Jim Harbaugh deserves a lot of credit for taking over a roster that going into the year, a lot of people didn't think had much talent. They make it to the playoffs in a tough AFC West, blah, 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 blah. They ain't the Chiefs, Bills, or Ravens. You beat the Bills. You lost to the Chiefs in a semi-close game. You got smoked by the Ravens. Those are the teams in the AFC that you are trying to sit down at the cool kids table with. And the Chargers are not one of them. So, yeah, don't get it twisted, but you can still also have fun. Mimi says, your suit was on point, Paul. You can see my little stand-up that I did from NRG Stadium on my YouTube channel and on X too. Actually, all the accounts that I'm on. I appreciate that. Someone said I looked like Steve Harvey. I didn't know I looked black. I appreciate that. That's kind of cool, huh? Looking like Steve Harvey. He said I can't look like Steve Harvey. He also claimed that I'm a virgin because of the mustache. Listen, we're just fucking around. We have a mustache, but that's true. I've never had sex in my life, not once. More comments here on YouTube. Sneakers Most Wanted said, I want to put Xmas Day 2024 game out of my memory forever. I think it's fine. That game doesn't matter anymore. Doesn't matter. On Instagram at Sports Gallant, Abby Lieberman Comedy. What's up, Abby? Hi, Paul. Great day. Texans swarm. Al-Shaair is a difference maker. Al-Shaair is a big part of it. But honestly, if we're power ranking who had the best defensive performance today, it's really difficult. So Stingley had 2 picks. He also had 5 deflected passes. He was a problem. Will Anderson Jr. had 3 QB hits. He deflected 2 passes. He had a sack and a half. He had a tackle for a loss too. I think it's between those two for who had the best game. Mario Edwards Jr. had a great game, as did Foley Fatukasi, as did Danico Autry. The defensive tackles for this team are good. They're really, really good. You know, I don't even remember Tim Settle in this game, and Tim Settle's a good player. Derek Barnett was in for a little bit. You, of course, had the pick 6 by Eric Murray, who was all over the place. 7 tackles, most tackles on the team. Al-Shaair was sticking people. Toa was sticking people. Like, this was a really complete defensive effort. And the only person you could perhaps point at and say, what the fuck, was when Kalen Bullock went for that interception on the Ladd McConkey catch and run for the touchdown. And then the special teams step up. They had a blocked punt, and they had a blocked PAT attempt that they returned for a touchdown. Or for, what is it called? I guess it's like it's a PAT-TD. The referee said it weird. I thought it was like just a point after attempt score. D'Angelo Ross was the one who did it. And D'Angelo Ross had himself a good game. Was it D'Angelo Ross who blocked the punt? I forget. But special teams had a good game. They did. This was outside of there was a fair catch interference that was bad. Also, the ball like rolled into the end zone. It was just bad luck the way that it did. What else do we have? This is a funny comment from Brandon Hallam. Maybe it is time to give Derek Stingley a red zone pass. Yeah, I'm with you there. Let's talk about the things the Texans did fuck up in this game. They played great, but you do not ignore in victory what you would beat up in defeat. 3rd down efficiency, still a problem. Better than the Chargers, but they were 5 for 14. 8 penalties for 86 yards, not good. 2 for 4 in the red zone. You got to score touchdowns when you're down there playing the good teams. 3 fumbles. Can't fumble. You can't fumble in the playoffs. The John Mechie fumble. Come on, man. Come on. What are you doing? The Joe Mixon fumble. That was the first time he'd fumbled in, I think, over 1,000 carries per the Texans radio broadcast, which is insane. We're talking like 4 years, I think, if that's how long it took. There were too many fumbles. And C.J. Stroud was a little bit careless with the football. I think he's got his confidence back. But, again, next round you can't get away with some of the stuff that they got away with today. But the defense was so damn good today, you can get away with what they got away with. And you like that. More comments here. Footballer 503 says, hi. Javier Salazar says, Paul, don't ever leave Houston Sports Radio. Go Texans. I mean, I don't necessarily have a say over that, but I appreciate you enjoying me blabbing. Smoking on that Paul pack on Gallant Says, the Gallant Says podcast. Reading more comments here. Brandon Halam says good rest this week. Maybe CJ Stroud can get some more reps with Deontay Johnson. Can we stop with Deontay Johnson trying to make Deontay Johnson a thing? Like, I'm not expecting anything out of him. I know there was a play where he was open in this game. I think it was one of the Stroud interceptions, the one that he threw to John Mechie, but it was nowhere near anybody. Look, guys, he's been on 4 teams in 2 years. I know he was good in fantasy football, but a lot of people seem to have it twisted and think like he's still a good player. Like, I don't know. I trust Robert Woods more than I trust him. Scooby dooby doo up, shibbly dee dop, doopy doo. It's football time in Houston. Willow20 says football is football. Listen, I'm not going to dump on Bobby Slug today. I'm not going to dump on him. Again, there are some moments where I was a little bit frustrated, but the offense eventually got going. They are hamstrung by, first off, what they have on the offensive line, and on top of that, the skill position players that CJ Stroud's dealing with right now. I mean, Tank Dell and Stephon Diggs were both at the game today, and they can't play. It's just Nico Collins and a bunch of guys who aren't bad, but these are people that we'd rather have as your 4th and 5th wide receiver. Tormick Johnson says Paul doesn't want to wake his parents. No, downstairs I have some cool neighbors. Every now and then they throw them. Yeah, I'm not allowed to say that, am I? Let's just say that they're very generous neighbors, and sometimes they give me things that are smokable. Tobacco, of course, I'm talking about. Big Timesful says, salute PG, go Texans. Go Texans indeed. I was really happy watching this game, and I think most of you guys know that I'm originally a Patriots fan, and that they're the reason I enjoy sports, because I grew up watching them. But, I've been here for a really long time. I know there's a big scandal at Barstool Sports where Big Cat, it was exposed that Big Cat's originally from Massachusetts, but he became a Bears fan. And as someone who's moved all over the place and has lived everywhere, I only lived in Massachusetts for one of the Patriots Super Bowls. I was living in Florida for the next 2. I was in college for the other ones. I was here for the other ones. I was here for the other 3. When you live far away from the teams that you grew up rooting for, it does change a little bit. And especially for someone like me, my job is covering this team. I do want this team to win. I want you guys to be happy, but selfishly for my career, if the Texans are good and I'm talking about the Texans, then I become more relevant. And that's what's been killing me. And that's why I was so pissed off on Christmas Day. I stayed for Christmas to cover the Texans in a game that was a big one, playing the Ravens, and I was hoping they'd show up. They didn't even show up for this one. For that one. Not this one. This one they showed up for. The defense was so fucking good in this game, and they've been so good several times this year. And, I've given D'Amico Ryans a little bit of shit earlier this year because of the lack of cleaning things up. And some of those things still need to be cleaned up, but the defense today was so good, and the defense against Josh Allen was so good, and the defense against Tua Tagovailoa was so good, and the defense against Jared Goff was so good. This defense has had some amazing moments this year, except for against the Ravens. They're a really good defense that's loaded with talent, and they got Azeez Al-Shaair back, and he's out there fucking people up and pissing off Jaguars fans. A lot of angry Jaguars fans online. Go to Ben DeBose's Twitter profile on X. He was fighting a war against them because I guess Jaguars fans were watching because they got nothing else to watch for anymore, and they're basically monitoring Azeez Al-Shaair to see if he does anything bad. Ezekiel Tovar says, on the big play that got us in the red zone, why did they let the play clock go, then fix the clock, add the time back after the play was done? I feel like that little break killed our momentum. I'm drawing a blank on that play. Was that in the second half? I agree with you. I thought that was that in the third quarter? Was that in the fourth quarter? I know what you're talking about, and I do agree that it did feel like it disrupted the momentum. There were a couple of times in this game where it felt like the Texans wanted to go up tempo, and the refs were like, no, you can't do that. This is a really funny question. Brian Body Calhoun asks on YouTube, hey, Paul, random question. Would you rather sit on a chair where Cody Stoots has exclusively sat on for a week? Well, I used to do that all the time at ESPN 97.5 or 92.5, and that's mean. Cody's a good guy. Or go on a romantic date with Chandler Rome. I love Chandler. I know a lot of people don't like Chandler. I actually really like Chandler Rome. We get along great. He has a I don't know if it's a romantic appreciation for Chandler that I have, but Chandler's funny, man. I like people in this industry who have a dark sense of humor and who get riled up about things, and I think Chandler gets riled up about some things. Big Times Full says, Paul, it would be great to make team history to make it to the AFC Championship game. I know, we're all fucking waiting for it. You know, like just like we were waiting for today for them to finally show up and play a game like that. We all knew they were capable of that. What's a little frustrating is that it took until this game for them to do it. They didn't do it all year. Like, the Patriots game doesn't count. The Patriots fucking blow. Like, I'm watching them. They're a goddamn mess with Gerard Mayo. Thank God they blew his ass out. Like, there's so many stories behind the scenes that I'd been hearing about. Not good. The Patriots suck. The Cowboys were basically on quit watching that game. And credit to them that finishing the season 8-9. But, like, the two games where the Texans won convincingly, they felt a little bit too proud about it after the fact. Last game of the year, too. Like, beat the fucking Titans. Like, who gives a shit? You know? Like, oh, it was multiple scores. This was a long fucking time coming. And I'm really happy that we finally saw it. We knew they were capable of it. I think we all collectively felt a little crazy knowing that they are capable of doing this, because we saw it last year when they were hamstrung with injuries. We saw it against the Browns last year. And look, the Browns, there's Joe Flacco under center, but that was a good defense, and they beat the shit out of them, and defensively they made a lot of plays. And this is a better defense this year. We knew they were capable of this. And, you know, the offense still left a little bit on the table, but is there another level that they can get out of the offense? Can they get, like, I'm not even talking much more, one rung higher, slightly more efficient? That's the challenge next week. I don't think they would have won against a better team today, even with as good as the defense played. But it's because of how the game started. Like, the defense was making up for a lot of offensive fuck-ups early on. I mean, they kept screwing up early and putting the Texans in a tough defense in a tough spot. And the defense made plays. And then the offense got clicking after Stroud made that throw to Xavier Hutchinson. And then the next drive, he has to scramble. And still, though, like, you take a look at the second half, first drive of the game, or first drive of the second half, there's the 41-yard throw to Nico Collins, and they fumble the next play. There's the field goal drive, the drive after that. They go 3 and out, but then Herbert sails it, first play, to Eric Murray, picked off. 4 plays later, Herbert throws another interception. Texans have the ball. Derek Stingley almost takes it all the way back to the house at the 13, and they go 4 and out. First play, Mixon goes up the middle for 9 yards. This is the spot where I got mad at Slowick the most. It's 2nd and 1 at the Chargers 4, and the Texans decided we're going to throw the ball, and Stroud got sacked. And then all of a sudden, it's 3rd and 9. That play right there, they should have run. They should have run the ball, and they didn't there. So there is some things to nitpick, but they had the 14-play, 74-yard touchdown drive where Joe Mixon just did whatever the fuck he wanted. They ran off a ton of clock on that drive, 10:33 to 3:42 left. And then, of course, you get the interception by Derek Stingley one more time. 2 picks for the All-Pro, who I believe had 2 game balls when he left NRG Stadium today. On Instagram, at Abby Lieberman Comedy asks, at Sports Gallant, who gets your game ball? This is a great question. There's so many good defensive players in this game. To me, it's between Derek Stingley and Will Anderson. With an honorable... There's so many good defensive players in this game. That's the tricky thing. But it's between those two. I will give it to Derek Stingley because he had 2 interceptions. He had the game-icing interception. He had 5 deflected passes. And the guy's a good tackler too. But there were moments where the following guys stepped up. Eric Murray had the pick 6. Azeez Al-Shaair had a couple of sticks. Derek Stingley Jr., 2 interceptions, 5 deflected passes. Will Anderson Jr., 2 deflected passes, 3 QB hits, a sack and a half, a tackle for a loss. Oh, God, maybe I need to give it to Will Anderson. It's between those two. It's between Will Anderson and Derek Stingley Jr. How about that? I'm going to give a shared game ball. But Foley Fatukasi made some plays. Mario Edwards made some plays. Kamari Lassiter had a pick. He had an awesome stuff of a tackle. He had a couple of deflected passes, too. Danico Autry had a sack. So many defensive players out there made plays. Offensively, who gets the game ball? Asks Avi. I'm going to say it's Nico Collins. He is by far their best offensive player. And yes, Stroud, it was a nice second quarter to end of the game. But there were a couple of throws in this game where, Jesus Christ, what were you doing? He has the most dangerous throwaways. Throw it all the way out of bounds. Like he hovers it, and the defenders for the Chargers can like jump up and catch it and almost get an interception. When was that play? Because I know he had the one interception early. There was a throw. I feel like it was down the left sideline, and I felt like the Charger intercepted it. Did it get overturned? Or am I thinking about the interception that was thrown John Mechie's way? Because it felt like Stroud should have had 3 interceptions in this game. I think the Derwin James throw was an interception too. I can't believe they overturned that one. Brian Buddy Collins is asking some funny questions. Would you rather wear the clothes Ari Alexander used for a whole week without Landry used? Wait, hang on. I feel like you didn't finish that question. You're gonna have to ask that one again. Ninrabbit says, dreading the hopium hangover next weekend. Let's go. Let's exercise the Texans playoff ghost and start a new chapter. Eventually, they're going to get to the AFC Championship. I hope. Willow 20 is asking me about my date. Yeah, I did have a date. It did not score on the date. But the date was a date. So how about that? I watched Texas, Ohio State. Fun times, man. Fun times. Brandon Halam asks, are you allowed to say fuck Rex Ryan on the air? Do I need to? Like, Rex Ryan's all bluster, and look at that. He put his foot in his mouth. He likes feet. I thought it was interesting how respectful after the game Texans players were when it came to talking about Rex Ryan. Joe Mixon, maybe not so much, but Azeez Al-Shaair, Will Anderson, they were like, yeah, he's got a job to do, whatever. We don't care. I hope that they used it as the bulletin board material, that they were all acting like it wasn't when they were getting asked about it this week. Brian Bodie Calhoun says, you and Brian Lalima, my dog, I love Brian, seem to love football time in Houston more than others. Yeah, because it's a fucking banger. Asking me about my sex life right now. Mellow Mike asks, Paul, how many mustache rides have you given this week? None. I'll be honest. I'm trying to think. I'm a virgin with a mustache. I've never had sex with a mustache. Not once. It's weird. I haven't had it that long. I'm not sure if I like it, but now I gotta keep it. I don't like going clean shaven with the mustache either. I think it looks slightly more pedophilia-ish. Is that a word? We just made it one. Some conversation in the chat about the Bills and the Ravens. Bills versus Ravens is great. Just knowing one of those fan bases will be pissed off. I don't hate either of those fan bases. Growing up, I always respected the Ravens because they were one of the few teams that actually gave the Patriots hassles. Bills fans pissed me off because they were all fucking hiding when I was in college. Like, I went to Syracuse, which is a couple of hours east of Buffalo, and one of my best friends supposedly was a Bills fan in college, but like he never acted like he cared about the Bills in college. And now the Bills are good, and it pisses me off because as a Patriots fan growing up, And especially as a Patriots fan in college, I wanted someone to bully. I wanted someone to be mean to. And now he bullies me. It's not cool. He's being very cocky about the Bills. Considering how one-sided the first 2 games in the AFC were, do we think that it'll be another one-sided game tomorrow at noon between the Bills and the Broncos? That was the game of all the games this weekend I thought would be the biggest blowout. HC Picks, congratulations for your not placing $100 on the Chargers money line. I'm glad I was wrong. Like, I really am. I know some people are like, oh, you wanted the Texans to lose. No, I never want the Texans to lose. I don't want to. I know I'm more entertaining when I'm angry and I'm pissed off. It's my burden that I give to you. But, yeah, like I don't like it when the teams that I cover lose. I'm good at ranting, but I'd rather have fun and goof off and just keep on doing this. Every time I play that, that allows me to have a little more scotch. Scooby-Doo, shibbility-doo. Mario Edwards got his Adderall back out. It must be fun to play football on Adderall. Oh, Tim Settle got a drug test in the like one of those drug test forms in his locker room after the game. And I was surprised by that because, like, Tim Settle didn't do much in today's game. But he had one of those rando drug tests out there. I thought it was pretty funny. Dalton Schultz came back from the shower and was like, hey, Tim, tell everybody about your drug test that he has to take. It was funny when the NFL, like, just goes into the locker room and puts up random drug test notices on players' things. What else? Some people are going after Mechie. Can we stop trying to make Mechie a thing? Mechie has terrible hands. He fumbled. Yeah, I feel for him. I mean, the guy's overcome a lot. I want him to succeed, but, like, he can't be your number 2 receiver, and it does feel like the Texans are trying to make him that. Some people are complimenting Kamari Lassiter. Yes, his hands are really good. Some questions after the draft says World of Warcraft Spartacus asking if they got schooled by settling for Kamari. I remember reading his draft profile from Lance Erline, who is my coworker at ESPN 97.5, 92.5. I respect his draft acumen very much, but I know the draft is also a crapshoot. The way that Lassiter was built was like he's a nickel corner, but he has been an awesome number 2 corner. And I mean, there were a lot of corners taken in this year's draft. I think Cooper DeJean's doing pretty good. I don't know about Kool-Aid McKinstry and some of the other guys, but Lassiter's been great. He really has been. And he had that awesome pick today. And he's also a willing tackler, and I like that at corner. There's a lot of corners who don't like tackling. Stingley and Lassiter are not afraid to put their shoulder down. And, I mean, you're going to have to pay Stingley probably this offseason, but you've got a really good 1-2 corner, couple of starting cornerbacks. And, like, Nick Caserio's done a really good job building this team in the draft. He really has. Like, Kalen Bullock is a really good player, too, and I know he fucked up on that Ladd McConkey touchdown, but, like, no, they got some really good players in the secondary, and I'm glad that the Texans have Nick Caserio running the show. Jerry says that D'Amico mentioned the bye week thing in his post-game speech of the game. Good. I like that. You know, they all act publicly like, yeah, we don't care about it. But going into this game, just because I felt like everything from a vibes-wise was bad for the Texans, I did want to hear them talking about it a little bit more. They keep it behind the Nick Caserio vest, and I guess it motivated them to get this dub. What else do we have here? What else? What else do we have to say? Brandon Hallam says, I got to go watch that D'Amico speech. I got to watch that D'Amico speech, too. At some point, I will. RKO59 says, do you think Variable takes the Patriots head coaching job? Who fucking cares? It's about the Texans right now, bruh. Although, to be fair, I do care. I hope so. We'll see, though, man. We'll see. We're talking about the Texans. We're talking about the Texans right now, brah. Justin Singleton asks, do you think Bobby Slowick did decent in this game? Decent. Yeah, decent. There were some play calls I didn't like. I hated the cutesy shit right after that big Nico Collins catch and run. I hated the 2nd and 1 call to throw the ball. He gets sacked. Like, he wasn't perfect. I think I called him Sark Slowick at one point in the game. Thoughts and prayers to all the UT fans out there because of Sark's fuck up in the red zone against Ohio State when they had a chance to tie things up yesterday. I know that might be too soon for some, but it was like a C day by Slowick. It was satisfactory. I wasn't mad about the offense after the game. CJ was the one who was fucking shit up more than anyone early. But he got his mojo towards the end of the second quarter. He's just got to be smart with the throwaways. Like, he has weird, dangerous throwaways. Get it out of bounds, man. Put a little more oomph into it. Brandon Lamb asks, how about that bye week? Hell yeah. I'm guessing that's what D'Amico said. Jerry2968 says, I'm calling it now. The O-line coach is getting fired no matter what happens next week. Oh, yeah. I've been saying that for weeks. He's gone. Aiden Watson says, Chargers ownership's thinking, we fired the last guy just for this same shit. I mean, they need more talent, the Chargers. Like, their whole offense is Ladd McConkey. They want a better running back than J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards. They need another receiver. Quentin Johnson sucked in this game. 5 targets and no catches. A couple drops. But I think ultimately the Texans defense is really what you're giving the most credit to today. You can say, hey, the Chargers clammed up. Chargers going to Charger. But I think Justin Herbert's a good quarterback. I think the Texans just completely swarmed him. Swarmed his ass. Justin Singleton asks, what do you think was Bobby's game plan in this game? Attack the middle of the field against the Chargers zone. I think it was take what the defense gives you, and that's what C.J. Stroud needs to do a little bit more of. Will he continue to do that? That is a great question. I honestly do not know. I really do not know. But it felt like on that play where he fumbled the snap, picked it up, threw it to Xavier Hutchinson. Xavier Hutchinson catches and runs and goes and takes it to midfield. Felt like he got his mojo back on that play. And now it's a matter of, can he have that same kind of mojo on the road? They are not the same team on the road that they are at home. Although Christmas Day was like the worst performance ever, and that was at home. I do not know what it's going to take for them to take what we saw today and carry it forward. They got to figure it out, though. This is a very talented team. This is a really good defense and an offense with a quarterback who has some elite skills. So there is a chance, it's probably a very slim one, but there is a chance that they can get to the AFC Championship game. I actually do believe that. Would I pick them if I'm putting money on it or if I have a gun to my head? Probably not, but there is a lot to be proud of today. There really is. You got as far this year as you did last year. There is credit to consistency. We all wanted more this year. We still want more. But you can't say this season was a failure now after what they did today. And now the question is, how do you keep this going? Offensively, how do you keep C.J. Stroud confident, knowing that he can run, take off, scramble for some yards? How do you keep Stroud from bad throws? How do you learn from the mistakes you made in this game? You can't have 8 penalties next week. You can't fumble the football 3 times next week. but you can rely on this defense. And if they're playing against the Chiefs, I think the Texans defense can frustrate the Chiefs. I think it's actually very helpful that they played the Chiefs recently. They have a very good idea of what they do. This is not a loaded Chiefs offense. And assuming the Bills win against the Broncos tomorrow, that's who they'll play. I know it's tempting to say, like, all right, well, hey, like, go Broncos. That makes the path to the Super Bowl theoretically easier. I think we should all be rooting for the Bills tomorrow. I think, like, listen, this is no disrespect against the Kansas City Chiefs. They might take this as bulletin board material. I'm not about to say the Chiefs are a bye week like Rex Ryan. I just think the Chiefs are a better matchup. You've played them recently. You have film on them. You have a good idea of what they do. They are offensively not as talented as they used to be. Defensively, they are very good. They will give CJ Stroud and this offensive line some issues, but that's what you should root for tomorrow at noon. So there you go. What else do we have? Rick Hagwood says, I just want 9 more hours of balls out football. Don't we all? Grapha 0713 is pumped. Everyone's pumped. I'm pumped. This was fun. Glad that you guys joined me tonight. I'm about to go. What am I about to do? I have to post this in podcast form. It's probably too late to go out to the bar, huh? Yeah, probably too late to get out there. Unless anyone's out there. So I saw my dentist is hanging out in the chats. Hey, dentist, or Mona, is there somewhere to go out to tonight? Let me know. But that's going to wrap up today's edition of the Gallant Says podcast, which you can occasionally find on YouTube at Paul Gallant, on Twitch at Gallant Says, Facebook.com/Paul Gallant Sports, on X at Gallant Says, and on the Gram at Sports Gallant. You can also get it in podcast form, Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Shout out to the real Father Time Nunsbud. That's one of my friends who I played flag football with in Seattle. We were very good. I miss that team dearly. Makes me sad to not play with a team of winners anymore. But at least I have a Houston Texans team of winners going on to the second round of the playoffs. Tomorrow, no show. Monday, noon to 3, Joe, George, and me, Gallant and George, ESPN 97.5 and 92.5. We'll talk more about this when we'll play some of the audio that you probably want to see, especially D'Amico Ryans and Joe Mixon and all the people roasting Rex Ryan. I think there will be a Gallant Says podcast at 3:30 after the show. It really depends on how much procrastinating I do. New Year's resolution was to stop procrastinating. Maybe, just maybe, this week is where it actually takes hold. That's it. It's over. Go home. Go to bed. So long. Farewell. Have yourselves a wonderful rest of your weekend. Enjoy all the NFL games tomorrow. The Texans are on to the second round of the playoffs.